What's up, guys? KAMIKAZE-FOX here, coming to you on this Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, depending on which part of the world you're in. This is round 7, season 4 of the IRL F1 2017 League on the PS4 platform. Round 7 here in Hungary, Budapest. So, waiting for some drivers to sign in. Looks like we've got a full house today. Lots to catch up on. If you were with us last week at Austria, it was a very interesting and very confusing race. IRL saw its first ever red flag session due to migrating host. Long story short, we had a driver, Killian Brady, who was a reserve driver for IRL at one point this year, had quit the league, managed to join in on the race. He started last, worked his way up to the front, and then due to him joining late and somebody leaving early, it created a migrating host situation where the game itself got confused and the lobby broke. About halfway through the race, we started getting a safety car about every 4 to 5 laps. After about the third safety car, they threw the red flag, lap 28 of 32, and Killian Brady was the unofficial winner, but since he's not a part of the league, he was disqualified, so no points awarded to him, and partial points awarded to the drivers for the rest of the drivers that day. Basically what happened was they awarded points after the second safety car, and then awarded points again based on your position after the third and final safety car before the red flag. So your official winner would have been Sebastian Goncalves, Super Guy NL, which also makes him the 6th different pole sitter this year, which is another IRL record. And then he's also the 6th driver in IRL history to win on his opening debut. Francis McGinn did it a couple weeks ago, and Goncalves did it last week. So it looks like we've got ourselves a very full house. So far, 20 cars. We'll run down the driver listings here in a second. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Appreciate the viewers here for the International Racing League Season 4 Round 7 on my KAMIKAZE-FOX YouTube channel. So as you can see, looks like we've got Orange Warrior 03 is Shark Boxhorn. He's had a dismal season so far. He'll be looking to just finish a race. Little Piece is Jorge Carrera in the Red Bull. And let's see here. Twist MW is in the Ferrari. I'll have to bear with me here to get my notes on some of these guys. Twist MW, that is Alex Chiosulu, something of that nature. Schmicky Mickey, he is in the other Ferrari. That is Michael Amadoro, something of that nature. You see some of the cars are leaving the track. Beastie Kids, that is Louis Quinlan. F3Y IHD, that is going to be your championship points leader, Felix Naguar. Wasted Times, that is Leland Supartini. Mr. ARK is going to be Ivan Kuna, I believe. And we're going to pick up Twist MW on his outlap here. Bear with me here for just a minute, guys. I apologize. I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty here. I'll try to get some things situated. It's Michael Amadoro. Schmicky Mickey. So Callum the Boss, that is Callum Lantham. David Wallbank, 357 is David Wallbank. Very creative. All right, Fly High 879. I am not familiar with who that is. I will try and look into that. Dougal 150 is Kieran Evans. Crocodile Bill is Cameron Weston Edwards. James Owl is actually... What is he in? He's in the other Renault. Seems odd. A lot of Renault drivers. James Owl will have to look into. Stewart is Lewis Bish. Francis Jessica is Francis McGinn. Won on his debut a couple weeks ago. Brandon the Man Glover is in the Mercedes. Super Guy NL is young gun sensation Sebastian Goncalves. He's official winner last week. Apparatical, he's in the other Mercedes. I'm not familiar with who that is. And then Praga X30 is Lewis Marshall. He's in the other Sauber. David Wallbank is your first driver to set a time at 1:18.931. And Amadoros, that's one at 1:20. And then Sebastian Goncalves jumps to the top of the charts at a 1:17.761. Take a look here at your championship points leader. He's got 3 wins so far this year. This is Felix Neguar. And amongst all the confusion last week, I believe his unofficial result would have been 3rd or 4th, given Killian Brady's disqualification. So he did manage to pick up some valuable points, but Brandon Glover was able to close the gap to him a little bit the championship point standings, and you see he goes a 1:18.9. So Sebastian Goncalves is the only driver in the 1:17s. The caution in Sector 2. 12 drivers have set time so far. You see a couple of them are still in the pits. Callum Lantham is out on the track. He's in the Williams. So we continue to watch Felix Neguar. Looks like that was Lantham pulling aside there. It looks like Neguar is possibly off the pace a little bit. Not giving it his all in this go-around. Probably dive into the pits. Nope. I think he's going to take another crack at it. He's got the DRS slot open. He's off on a fast lap. Continue to watch him to see what kind of time he can set. 1:18.9, that's good enough for second, but that is 1.2 seconds off Sebastian's fastest time. So an unbelievable time set by Goncalves in the Haas. I'm sorry, he's not in the Haas today, is he? Got a few drivers that have yet to set a time. It looks like we've got a caution in Sector 2. Shark Boxhorn, Callum Lantham, Fly High 879, Lewis Bish, Brandon Glover, and Lewis Marshall have all yet to set a time. You see one of the Ferraris there is off the pace, possibly bringing out one of those cautions in the Sector 2 area. And now we've got caution in Sector 2 and 3. Oh, and Neguar power slides coming out of there a little bit and gives up on that lap. Dives into the pits. They'll pick up Francis McGinn in the Red Bull Renault. He managed to crack 1:18.1 for good enough for second, take over Felix Neguar from the second position. See a lot of cautions in the Sector 2 area. It looks like McGinn is on a good hot lap here. And the car has just gone ghost, it looks like. So he was on a fast lap. Car's going ghost, and it's off the pace. McGinn may have had an internet issue. So we'll pick up David Wallbank as he heads into the pits. So we're going to check fly high. An orange box horn, shark box horn. Disqualified. That's the second time this year he's been disqualified from a session for facing the wrong way. And you see there, it looks like he lost control of the car. And whatever he did to try and get back on track, the stewards were not too happy about. So we'll pick up Beastie Kids. This is Louis Quinlan. So far he is 10th quickest. So second time this year, Shark Boxhorn is been disqualified for going the wrong way. Last time that happened, I believe it was Mexico for him. But he's unfortunately had a bad string of races put together. He's had some bad luck this year, problems with his steering wheel, problems with the internet. So Shark Boxhorn will be looking just to finish a race, hopefully within the points, to get himself back on track a little bit. And Callum Lantham is now gone off and destroyed the car. Broken right front, pieces laying in the back there. This is Sector 3, ready to get out of the last corner there for pit entry. So we'll pick up Amadoro. Big lock up there as he heads into that corner. Amadoro in the Ferrari. So far he has been 9th quickest. And a lot of drivers are complaining about a lack of grip here today. Amadoro is still 9th quickest. Pick up Felix Naguar. He is now dropped to 4th. And looks like he's got no grip as well. Car sliding around, possible internet issue as well. And now Sebastian Goncalves has gone 1:17.7, a new fastest time. And we continue to watch Naguar, and his car is all over the road, possible internet issues for him. Continue to watch this. So he has dropped to 4th on the charts. Brandon Glover was able to run about 0.02 of a second quicker. As we continue to watch Naguar's car, you can see it's very glitchy at this point. So we've got 1:30 to play left in this qualifying session. Lewis Marshall has yet to set a time. And I believe Callum Lantham was supposed to have a qualifying ban. And Sebastian Goncalves sets another fastest time at a 1:17.466 and has called it a day here for qualifying. So he's the only driver to run in the 1:17s. Everybody else is 1:18 or slower. So a good run for Sebastian Goncalves. This is going to be his second pole position in a row, and for the first time this year, we've got a driver that has more than one pole position. So Callum Lantham had a qualifying ban, which doesn't affect him much since he said he was only 18th fastest, but he had a qualifying ban for an incident in Spain with Lewis Bish, and Amadoro was supposed to have a qualifying ban, even though he has set the 12th fastest time. He was supposed to have a qualifying ban as well for weaving at Spain as well in the last corner, and a dive bomb that knocked Jorge Carrera off the track in Austria. But for what it's worth, this is your starting order at this point, unofficially. Sebastian Goncalves is your pole sitter, the 1:17.446. And it looks like Francis McGinn in the Renault. He is the only other car to go 1:17. He's a 677. So good for him, Francis McGinn, picking up the second spot. Lewis Marshall does manage to set a time. Looks like he did it the last second. He's the third fastest car. See him now pulling into the pits. He'll be getting ready for the race. Felix Naguar has gone off, looks like here on this in lap. He'll be fourth. Brandon Glover will be fifth. He is second behind Felix Naguar in the championship points battle. Apparatical will be sixth. Cameron Weston Edwards seventh. David Wallbank at the Williams eighth. Twist MW, that is Alex Chiusolu. He'll be ninth. James Al in the other Renault 10th. Jorge Carrera 11th. We've talked about Amadoro. He is 12th. Louis Quinlan 13th. Kieran Evans 14th. Ivan Kuna is 15th. Sue Partatini 16th. Fly High 879 will be 17th. Callum Latham 18th. Lewis Bish 19th, and Shark Boxhorn will be 20th as he was disqualified from the session. So now we wait for the game to set itself with the running order. I want to thank everybody tuning in so far. Interesting qualifying session. A lot of talk going on behind the scenes. A lot of drivers struggling to find grip out there today. In fact, from what I can tell, nobody has grip except for Sebastian Goncalves and Francis McGinn. So we're going to get ourselves a little bit of a grid reset here. We'll do a reconnaissance lap. Bright and sunny. Be interesting to see if the track conditions have changed any from qualifying. If grip was really that much of a problem, then it'll be interesting to see what type of pit strategy some of these guys use. So some of these guys, if they're going to do a one-stop strategy, they're going to be looking anywhere from lap 11 to 22, depending on what tires they start with, for a one-stop strategy to do the pits. If you're doing a two-stop, you could pit as early as 6 laps in, depending on what you're doing. So anywhere from lap 6 to lap 9 would be your first stop, and then there on after, anywhere from 15 to 27, if you ran a medium compound, you could run longer. So the reconnaissance lap is underway. Again, we'll run through your starting order. Super Guy NL, Sebastian Goncalves. He's now got 2 pole positions in a row. won at his debut last week in Austria. Francis McGinn will be starting second. Lewis Marshall, who has proved to be very fast so far this year in IRL and the SRL League, which is another league that I commentate for. He's proven to be very fast in both leagues. Felix Naguar is your championship points leader. 3 wins so far this year. He has been the man to beat, but Sebastian Goncalves seems to have something for him. Brandon the Man Glover, he's actually second in the point standings behind Naguar. So he'll be looking to try and close that gap to him. Apparatical will be in the other Mercedes. Cameron Weston Edwards, he often does not qualify as well as he finishes. You see the qualifying there, he's qualified 7th, but he's got quite a few podium finishes this year. He's finished the top, he hasn't had a win yet, but he's finished 2nd and 3rd a couple of times. David Wallbank will be in the Williams. Twist MW is Alec Chisolu. Have to work on that, I'm sure that's wrong. James Al will be in the other Renault. Jorge Carrera, Red Bull. Schmicky Mickey. It is Michael Amadoro in the other Ferrari. Louis Quinlan, 14th. Kieran Evans is 14th. Ivan Kuna, 15th. Sue Partini, Fly High, Callum Lantham, Stuart Fish, and Shark Boxhorn will be bringing up the rear. So game reset. 35 lap battle. Lights out, time to run what you brung. The short run down the front stretch. And it looks like Francis McGinn gets a good jump, and Felix Naguar coming on the outside. Now it's all going to be 4 wide almost going into turn 1. And the Salvers bang wheels. That's teammates there. Oh, Cameron Weston Edwards goes around. I'm sorry, Brandon Glover goes around. Oh, we've got cars all over the place. Oh, and Ferrari goes around. It's David Wallbank, Helen Lantham, and both Ferraris. So the 2 Williams and both Ferraris have spun. Here comes the salver of Cameron Weston Edwards through the wreckage. Actually, I'm sorry, that was not Cameron Weston Edwards. That was actually Felix Naguar, your points leader. And now Amadoro's got a 5-second stop and go penalty. And Francis McGinn has managed to grab the lead in the midst of all this. So Francis McGinn takes the lead. Amadoro's got a 5-second stop and go penalty for a collision with his own teammate in the Ferrari. Lewis Marshall moves up to 3rd. And all the way at the back of all this is your points leader, Felix Naguar, who got taken out by his teammate in turn 1. And they tried going 4 wide, and now we've got ourselves a safety car. Possibly due to all the debris left to sprung the track from the many incidences. We've got guys heading into the pits already. So an exciting first lap. I'm sorry I wasn't able to keep up with everything. 5-second stop and go penalty for Kieran Evans for speeding into the pit lane. And there is the Mercedes SLS AMG safety car. Pick up your leader, Francis McGinn, who managed to get around Sebastian Goncalves heading into turn 1. So the 2 Saubers made contact with each other, the 2 Ferraris made contact with each other, and it looks like the 2 Williams made contacts with each other. So the golden rule in racing is don't take out your teammate, and 3 teams have managed to do it so far. There's been a little bit of concern now as you see Francis McGinn's car has gone ghost. So he got an internet issue. Well, looks like he's getting it back. The car's not ghost anymore. Francis McGinn with that gold livery helmet. So we had virtual safety car and safety car issues last week. Hopefully that's not the case again today. And Chisolu's got a 5-second stop to go penny for a severe collision with Orange Warrior. That's Shark Boxhorn. Boxhorn has managed to work his way up to 10th amidst the opening lap melees and the cars driving into the pits. Thought the Mercedes was heading in there, but it appears it is not. We'll see what happens here. Hopefully this safety car will be coming in this lap. So give you a quick rundown. Francis McGinn is your leader. See there, Super Guy, and now that's Sebastian Goncalves. He is second. Lewis Marshall managed to get up. You see a little bit of contact there, a little bump in the back. That was Marshall. It was Brandon Glover rear-ending Lewis Marshall. Cameron Weston Edwards has managed to work his way up to 5th, and he's got Apparatical and the other Mercedes behind him. Jorge Carrera in the Red Bull. Lewis Bish is in 8th, and he is followed closely by the Haas of Fly High 879. Shark Boxhorn has worked his way up to 10th, as we talked about. David Wallbank in the Williams, 11th. Chisolu, he's got a couple of penalties for collisions on the opening laps. Cameron Latham, he went around with his teammate on the opening lap. Kieran Evans, he had a 5-second stop-and-go penalty for pitting, or speeding into the pit lane. And you see some damage there in the front wing of Chisolu. And David Wallbank is going to end up with a 5-second stop-and-go penalty, and it looks like Chisolu has left the session, much to his displeasure, I'm sure. So he will drop through the order. And the safety car continues to stay out. And Chisolu is not going to be happy. So it looks like the safety car may be going in at this point. And yes, the safety car is in. Come back around. Race control DRS enabled. We are green, green, green. Back to racing, boys. We are going to watch this opening front battle here. Oh, and you see one of the Apparaticals trying to dive to the inside of Cameron Weston Edwards. Edwards tries to put a crossover move back on him to get back around and take that position back, but Apparatical's got the preferred line. Oh, and Edwards tries to hang tough on the outside. He's making it stick. A little bit of argy-bargy there. He's got the preferred line. We hop on board with Apparatical real quick. Edwards just loses out that position to Apparatical. So good tight battle there. And a 3-second time penalty for David Wallbank. To jump back to the front now. This is Goncalves. He's all over the back of Francis McGinn. McGinn runs wide coming out of that corner. And he runs wide again. So McGinn's feeling the pressure from Goncalves. Behind these two is Lewis Marshall. And Fly High 879 has retired from the session. What has happened to him? Well, it looks like he is pulled off and he is done for the day. Got cautions in sector 2 and 3. And it looks like Soup Artini's getting knocked around a little bit here. This is a melee and a half back here with these guys. A lot of bumping and banging going on. James Al there in the Renault is on the medium tires. He's got a little bit less grip than these other guys. You got about 4 cars here battling for 1 lane. Jump back up to the front now. The battle continues for the lead. Goncalves all over the back of Francis McGinn. Brandon Glover trying to stick with this battle. And if you go 2 seconds behind Glover, you're going to pick up Apparatical in the Mercedes. I'm sorry, yeah, you're going to pick up Brandon Glover and Apparatical in the Mercedes. And the Mercedes are running 4th and 5th as Lewis Marshall tries to stick with this battle. And Fly High 879 has officially left the session and will finish 20th. He is the first car out. Continue to watch here. pick up Twist MW, Alex Chisoli, real quick. His car is still ghost, so doesn't look like he's going to be coming back. Goncalves is going to be in DRS range. DRS is enabled. Track around here. This is one of the traditional F1 tracks. A lot of elevation change, runs through the fields and the hills of Budapest. The front straightaway, even though it is a DRS area, it's not a very long straightaway. So you really got to be close to the back of the guy in front of you to try and make a move head down into turn one when you come out of that last corner. So as Lewis Marshall tries to stick with this two-way, three-way battle for the lead here. There's your first, second, and third. We pick up Apparatical, and right behind him is his teammate Brandon Glover, and right behind him is Cameron Weston Edwards, so you've got a three-way battle for fourth. We stick with Goncalves. He's still trying to find a way around Francis McGinn. So not only is McGinn a little tough to pass, you see Goncalves dives to the inside there. The track itself here in Budapest is not the most passer-friendly track. There's not a lot of passing zones. It's a very rhythmic track. He's got a good run coming out of that corner. His DRS slot is open. McGinn takes the more defensive line. He's going to make Goncalves go the long way around. Sebastian's going to try the crossover move. Can't make it work. It's a good run down here at the bottom of the hill. He's going to try and work the outside. Oh, that's very tight there. McGinn tries to push him wide a little bit. Sebastian putting up a good fight. Now, Lewis Marshall has a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. He's running third there. McGinn's making his car very wide and hard to get around. You see these cars are sliding around. Looks like some of these drivers are still struggling to find grip. But McGinn having another good outing. He's looking to pick up his second win of the year. Your championship points leader, Felix Negor. Oh, McGinn runs very wide coming out of that corner. Sebastian's going to dive to the inside, thought about it. And real quick, Felix Negor, your championship points leader, has managed to move back up to 9th place. Brandon Glover is second in the championship points battle. He's currently 5th. So that gap will close a little bit if they finish now. But we're only working lap 8 of 35 as Sebastian Goncalves still continues to try and find a way around Francis McGinn. All the while, Lewis Marshall is lurking in the background, so if these two happen to make contact and take each other out, Lewis Marshall is there to pounce and take the lead if something happens. So far, it's been good, clean, hard racing after the safety car. Now, Ivan Kuna picks up a 5-second stopping and penalty for speeding into the pit lane. He's back in 17th place. Now it looks like McGinn is starting to pull ever so slightly, just a little bit of a gap off of Goncalves. Oh, but Goncalves gets a good run out of that corner, closes it back up just a little bit. About 2 or 3 car length lead for McGinn right now. And I think really at this point, these two are probably going to stay the same unless one of them makes a mistake. And really, that looks like what Sebastian is trying to do, is really just trying to force a mistake out of McGinn. You see McGinn takes a very defensive line. The slot's open, and McGinn again is going to make Sebastian work the long way around. He dives in, tries to get the power down. A couple of guys are making some pit stops. Looks like David Wallbank has just gone into the pits. It's going to drop him out of the top 10. And again, Goncalves is there. He just can't find the time, the space in the track to make a pass. Tries to cut to the inside. The back end kicks out just a little bit. He's going to try and get down there on the inside there, and he can't. Bit of a curb hop there for McGinn. Lewis Marshall is trying to stick with this battle, and they both run a little bit wide there. Got a caution in sector 1 as Goncalves runs very wide coming out of that corner. Almost clipped the wall. Oh, and you see now, it looks like they're starting to come up on a lap car. There's a caution in sector 2. And we're going to pick up Shark Boxhorn. It looks like he has gone off somewhere. There he is. He's lost the front wing of his car. So the bad luck continues for Mr. Boxhorn and his McLaren Honda. He'll be able to continue on. He'll obviously have to pit. There's no way he can continue that way. Louis Quinlan just headed into the pits. And we head back to the front. Goncalves now is a half second off the pace. These two have now pulled away from Lewis Marshall. Lewis Marshall is now 2 seconds back. They've got to run the lap car of Alex Tresolu. Head to the back of the pack a little bit. We're going to pick up Cameron Weston Edwards, and he is all over the back of Brandon Glover. And now Boxhorn has picked up a 5-second stop-and-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. You see there, that's his wing lane in the background. So Boxhorn's bad luck continues. Oh, it looks like there was a glitch there. Glover ran off the track a little bit. So you can see we've got the battle for 5th here. It's 0.3 of a second. They're right behind each other. The same thing can be said for the front. As Goncalves is yet to find a way around Francis McGinn. See a lock up there. They're starting to come up on lap traffic now. Oh, and he gets it run on the inside there. And he's gone along the side of Francis McGinn's Renault, Red Bull. You see one of the Williams is way off there in the grass. Oh, and these two touch, and around goes Goncalves. So Goncalves is going around. Manages to retain his position, but here comes Brandon Glover. Lewis Marshall looks like he had gone into the pits. There's a caution in sector 2, as it looks like that was Sebastian Goncalves goes around again. And he is now dropping through the field, and he's left the session. So Sebastian Goncalves has either had an internet issue or decided, to much to his dismay, throw the race. And that appears to be the case. Goncalves has called it quits for the day. So Brandon Glover will pick up the 2nd position. Francis McGinn retains the lead. So we're going to do a little bit of a grid reset here. Here's your leader, Francis McGinn. He is 11 seconds out front of Brandon Glover. Glover sits 2nd, not only in the race, but 2nd in the championship point standings. Behind him is Cameron Weston Edwards. Now, Felix Negwar, who started in 4th, he's currently still in 4th. He's made his way back through the field. He got taken out on lap 1 and has managed to pit, put the softs on, and work his way back through the field. He is 4th. So he's actually he's in damage control right now, trying to keep Brandon Glover from closing in on that points gap. Lewis Bish is in the Sahara Force India. He's having himself a good run up to 5th. Kieran Evans, 6th. And Jorge Carrera, you see here the other Red Bull Renault. So it looks like we had a car off there. Looks like that might be one of the Williams. And here comes Lewis Marshall. He's all over the back of Amadoro, and he gets by him. Nice move by Marshall. And this is a whole gaggle of cars here. This is 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, and 11th, all within 2 seconds of each other. Edwards just dived into the pits. See some argy-bargy going on in the back here. Ooh, and James Al is on the outside. Ooh, and Amadoro locks up the wheels going into the corner, and he bangs into Al, pushes him wide. That was a big-time lockup by Amadoro. Lewis Marshall closing in on the back of Jorge Carrera. He's all over the back of him, tries to cut to the inside, gets a good run coming out of that corner. He's going to make the pass. Nice move by him. So he'll set his sights on his next target, which will be Kieran Evans. And now Apparatical is all over the back of Jorge Carrera. And it looks like Francis McGinn is now headed into the pits. He's going to give up some time. Naguar now is going to, he just got around Brandon Glover. That's your championship points battle right there. And Callum Lantham has now retired from the session. Looks like he pulls off and he's done for the day as well. So Francis McGinn back out on track. He is currently third. He's currently third, but he's all over the back of Francis McGinn. McGinn's going to be on fresher tires, though, so he'll be able to retain that position no problem. Brandon Glover, meanwhile, is in hot pursuit of Felix Naguar. I'm sure Glover would love to get that position back and try and close that points gap to him a little bit. And the gap is 1.4 seconds. Naguar is starting to pull out now on Brandon Glover. And Callum Lantham has called it a day. So 2 drivers out so far. Fly High 879 had crashed out earlier. Callum Lantham has now called it a day. See Brandon Glover heading to the pits here. Twist MW, which was Alex Chisolu, has retired from the session. His car has gone ghost. And Lewis Marshall now has run the fastest lap at a 1:21.478. So Francis McGinn, who has made his pit stop, has now picked up second spot. He's on the softs. He may try to run these all the way to the end of the race. Be another 20 laps, though. He may pit one more time. We've got a caution in Sector 3. Louis Quinlan has retired from the session. And he's had a big time off as the left front is completely destroyed on his car. So Quinlan is going to be done for the day, unfortunately. The third DNF we've had. We pick back up Felix Naguar as he runs wide coming out of the corner. McGinn's in hot pursuit of him, 3.5 seconds behind. And Jorge Carrera and Apparatical are going back and forth. Oh, and look at this. Radical dives to the inside crossover. Oh, and they bang wheels and he pushes them very wide. It's a little bit of a controversial move there. And Beastie Kids is now going to leave the session after his crash. And Apparatical, that might be investigated after the race. He might be wise to give that position back to save face. Francis McGinn just ran the fastest lap again. And now we've got a 3-second time penalty for Schmicky Mickey. That is Michael Amadoro in the other Ferrari. Looks like Lewis Bish is headed into the pits. The slot is open for Jorge Carrera. Sneaking into the background there is going to be Cameron Weston Edwards. So Carrera, this is your closest battle on track. See his DRS slot was open again, a very short shoot downhill that next set of corners. The DRS around here is not as helpful as it is on some of the other much bigger tracks. The straightaway is just not long enough here for them to make a difference. And Carrera, he gets in there, and he runs into the back of Apparatical, breaks his front wing. The car pushes wide. He's going to be pretty upset about that. You see the left front wing end lip plate is gone. And Cameron Weston Edwards is going to come in and close this gap down on him, no problem. As Carrera's car is going to be slow, as he's going to have massive aero push at this point. And he has gotten around, Edwards has gotten around Carrera. So Carrera's going to be unhappy about that, I'm sure. And Apparatical made a pretty controversial pass to get around him to begin with. So I'm sure there will be some investigating by the stewards after the race on that. Francis McGinn once again runs the fastest lap, and he has now closed the gap down to Felix Naguar to within half a second. A couple laps ago, it was 3.5 seconds. So McGinn is a man on the move here, man on a mission for sure. And Louis Quinlan, I'm sure, is upset about his outing today. He's the third car to DNF. Essentially the fourth. Solu has left the session, but his car is Ghost still running in 17th position. So we watch this battle here. This is the battle for the lead. And you see there, they're coming up on a Ghost car of one of the Scuderia Toro Rossos. And I'm not sure whose car that would be. We'll investigate that here in a minute. That would have been Super Guy ML. He also expressed his displeasure. Oh, and McGinn and Naguar make contact. That was Sebastian Goncalvez's Toro Rosso. Looks like he's also done with the day. So 16th through 20th, there are no drivers in the session. Shark Boxhorn is in 15th. He would be essentially your last driver on grid that is actually still working the car. You see McGinn now going to try and make a run at Naguar. Naguar's going to make him go around the outside. Oh, and he does. He pushes him wide. Aggressive blocking. Good move by McGinn to try and make it work. And he's going to dive to the inside. And they almost touch. Look at that. You can throw a blanket over the top two cars. Lewis Marshall is behind them in third, 4 seconds behind this incredible battle for the lead. Oh, McGinn thought about it. I know he thought about it. He thought twice, though. That could have been catastrophic. Oh, my, what's going on here? He pushes him wide outside. I don't know if that was a bold move or a mistake by McGinn, but he's lost the left front wing plate. And that is certainly going to be looked at. The car pushes wide there. And we've got Louis Quinlan with us now for this hot second. What happened to you? Unfortunate event for Louis Quinlan. That is your second DNF out of the last 3 races, isn't it? Now, did the grip levels change at all from qualifying to the race? I know a lot of drivers were complaining about grip in qualifying. Did it get any better in race conditions? Right on. Well, we certainly appreciate you coming by. You guys can also check Louis Quinlan out on the SRL League, where he's performed fairly well there the past few races. And certainly he'll be looking to do better in his next outing as we continue to watch this battle for the lead. Now you have both Saubers running 1 and 2. Felix Naguar is your leader, followed closely by Lewis Marshall. Thank you, Louis Quinlan, for coming by. You drop back to third. You've got Cameron Weston Edwards. He is 17 seconds behind the battle for the front, as Marshall is now closing in on Felix Naguar. You were watching the battle before we talked to Louis Quinlan about his incident. Francis McGinn got pushed wide or ran wide, tried to make a bold move. It's hard to say. But he had pitted, got a new set of tires, new front wing, and he's back out and running. So Marshall and Naguar running 1 and 2. And it'll be interesting to see if Marshall is going to maintain his position, given that Naguar is your championship points leader, or if he's going to go try and get around him for the win. As we've seen earlier today, there is no love lost between any of the teammates. The two Salvers made contact earlier in the race, so there's probably a little bit of hostility there, as you see Marshall now does try to make a move on Naguar. There's a caution in Sector 2. We also saw in the opening lap the two Ferraris make contact with each other. We saw the two Williams make contact with each other at the very similar, same turn as the Ferraris. So Budapest, Hungary, it's a very tough race. It's a very tough track. There's not a lot of room or opportunity to make a pass, so there has been a lot of contact this race with just about every single driver. I'm sure there will be a lot of complaints logged at the end of this race, but a lot of it is just due to the track itself. It's a hard track to pass on, and a lot of guys try to shove their noses in where they should or where they won't fit. And it's just really hard to find a passing opportunity. We watched Francis McGinn try to get around Naguar. We watched Naguar earlier try to get around the leader. And now you're watching Marshall try to get around Naguar. They're coming up on a lap car of Shark Boxhorn. He's running 15th. And he wisely pulls to the side. Both Salvers are going to have DRS opportunity at this point. So Boxhorn looking to just finish a race for a change. He does pick up a position there as Chisolu's car had gone into the pits. So Cameron Weston Edwards is running third. He is 20 seconds behind this battle. Francis McGinn has now worked his way up into 7th. He just ran the fastest lap again. So working lap 22 of 35. It'll be interesting to see if McGinn can work his way back up front to try and get back with this battle. And Marshall, I mean, he's just in tow with Naguar, but you can see that it's just, there's not a lot of room in this track to try and make a pass. It's very narrow, it's very technical, it's very rhythmic. A lot of left, right, sweeping turns. The straightaways for the DRS are not very long in any capacity. Really what you have to do is, and I think what Naguar had done to begin, is you really have to force the other driver to try and make a mistake. You see Naguar is going to dive into the pits. That's going to hand the lead over to Lewis Marshall. But what we're going to watch here is Francis McGinn, and this is James Al. We're going to jump to Cameron Weston Edwards. He's going to stay out on track. As you see there just now, Naguar getting to his car. So Edwards is going to be able to take over second position. It is going to be close. Naguar's able to retain it just a second here, but Edwards is right behind him. So a good pit stop for Naguar as he maintains second position. And McGinn now has worked his way up to 6th spot. So his next target will be Apparatical. You see, this is James Al. This is not Cameron Weston Edwards. We're just over to James Al. You see there Francis McGinn pulling away. And McGinn has closed the gap down to Apparatical and the Mercedes. So here comes McGinn. Looks like David Wallbank's going to pick up a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. It looks like Lewis Marshall has now headed into the pits as well. Be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Naguar. So Naguar is out on the front stretch. Marshall just left the pits. And Naguar is going to get that lead back from Lewis Marshall. So Naguar makes the move through the pit section. Marshall is right back where he was before the pit stop sequence, trying to play catch up and get around his teammate Felix Naguar. We pick up Francis McGinn now. The battle for 5th is on. It's a good run coming out of that corner. He's going to be on the inside, tucks back in, swings out wide. Oh, and he gets a good run. He's alongside, and he gets pushed into the grass. Oh, trying to make that pass is going to cost him a spot. They'll have to regather it. So we're going to pick up Brandon Glover. He is running 4th and closing the gap down to Cameron Weston Edwards for the 3rd spot. Glover was able to close the points gap a little bit. That very confusing Austrian race last week with the red flag, the multiple safety cars. Apparatical is now headed into the pits. The gap here is about 1.1 seconds. But as we've seen today with this track, it's one thing to catch the driver, it's another thing to get around him. A lot of guys have been able to get within striking distance, but have been unable to make the pass. So it looks like McGinn finally did get around James Owl. See, Ivan Kuda picks up a time penalty. So there's Cameron Weston Edwards. There's Brandon Glover. The next driver behind them is going to be Francis McGinn, who's been driving like a madman, trying to get back to the front. 10 laps to go in this crazy race. And Brandon Glover's now within a half second of Edwards. No takers on pit this time. Lewis Marshall just ran the fastest lap. So take a look back up front at the Salvers. A little bit of a lock up there by Naguar. So when Marshall came out of the pits, he was about 1.8 to 2 seconds behind. He's now managed to close the gap down to 2/10, and this is exactly where they were before the pit sequence. Was running nose to tail for 1st and 2nd, with Marshall unable to find a way around his teammate Naguar. And after the contact earlier on the first lap between these two, I'm sure there's no love lost there. Naguar will not be wanting to relinquish that position at all costs. See this great helicopter view through the sweeping left and right turns. You can see how rhythmic the track is as it just flows left and right through the hills of Budapest. Shark Boxhorn has now picked up another time penalty, so is James Owl. James Owl was the one in question after we talked to Louis Quinlan's accident. So good run out of the corner by Naguar to pull a little bit of a gap, about 3 car lengths over Lewis Marshall. They're coming up on the back of a lap car. Looks like that might be the McLaren. The Shark Boxhorn again.
No, it's not Shark Foxhorn. Might be Ivan Kuda. And Apparatical, oh, it's a Ferrari. That is probably the Ferrari of Alex Chisolu. Take a look at Chisolu real quick. It looks like Chisolu has rejoined the session. Back in control. Oh, and he gets hit! What was that about? My goodness. And now the battle for the lead is turned into a fist fight. And unfortunately, Chisolu was an innocent bystander in that exchange. Oh, and look at this. Marshall dives to the inside. He's not having any of it. Pushes Negwar out wide. Negwar pushes back. Oh, and they are bumping and banging. There is no love loss here. These two are not happy with each other. Being a teammate in this game is just a color scheme. Marshall wants to get around him bad. And Negwar does not want to give up that position at all. And these two are starting to get a little rough with each other. And in the midst of all this, Francis McGinn has managed to work his way back to third place. 7 laps to go. And he's about 11.5 seconds behind. If these two decide to take each other out, which is what it's almost come to at this point, McGinn's going to be able to pounce and take this win. Oh, and again he tries to dive to the inside. Now he's going to try and work the outside. Lewis Marshall just can't make it work. This is an incredible battle we're having here between teammates. And look at that. Negwar pulls out a little bit of a gap there. What's going to happen here is eventually, as one of these guys, their tires are going to start to give up. And I'm wondering if that's the case with Marshall here. He's now dropped back a few more car lengths there. He's about a half second back. He was within a couple tenths. And in Formula One, tenths mean everything. Closes it back up under braking. And Negwar gets a good run out of that final corner to pull a little bit of a gap out on Marshall. Now Brandon Glover and Cameron Weston Edwards are starting to swap spots. These two are going back and forth. Glover on the inside of Edwards. He's going to push him wide. Edwards is going to be in the DRS range. Jump back to the front real quick. And they are coming up on the McLaren. Now this would be Shark Foxhorn. Now last time they came up on a lap car, Negwar had pushed Marshall into Chisolu, and Chisolu had to dive into the pits. Oh, and the McLaren is in the way. Look at this on the outside. And he pushes him wide. Marshall's trying to make the move. He pushes him wide. The McLaren got used as a pick, and now the McLaren is in the way of these two. Get out of the way, Foxhorn. Negwar is not going to be happy about that. Negwar's going to try and close the gap here. Boxhorn's car became a rolling roadblock for these two. Negwar dives to the inside. He's got the line on Marshall. He locks up the brakes. Marshall does the crossover move, takes the position back. And now the run down the short chute. And it looks like they might be starting to have rainfall with 4 laps to go. As you can see there, the rain is just starting to come into the picture. Depending on how hard it rains, it may be a factor here in the closing laps of this race. Is there a possibility of drivers needing to switch over to the inters? I'm sure some of these guys are going to try and run these slicks to the end, but how hard is it going to rain? Now, when the cars are starting to slide around, it looks like you're starting to get a little bit of a spray off of the cars. We've got a caution in Sector 1. And it looks like that may have been Kieran Evans and James Al, as these two are now banging wheels with each other. DRS is disabled. Oh, and Al hits the Toro Rosso. The Toro Rosso does an amazing save. Nice job by Evans. DRS is disabled, so the rain is coming down. And Negwar is off the pace as he slides the car around the last corner. These guys are going to have to pit and pick up intermediates or wets. No takers on trying to stay out. And David Wallbank's going to pick up a time penalty. Francis McGinn is diving into the pits as well. So Lewis Marshall is in. Oh, and look at this. Marshall was the first one in. Negwar is going to be second. Negwar is not going to be happy about this at all. I can see it now. 3 laps to go in what has become, this would have been a very exciting race. Marshall's the first Sauber in. He gets out. He's now 7 seconds ahead of his teammate, Felix Negwar, and Negwar is going to be unhappy about that. You see there, that's Alex Chisolu with the Ferrari. He is a lap car. So unbelievable. We got all kinds of cars. There's a 5-second stop and go penalty for Lewis Bish now, speeding in the pit lane. And Marshall just needs to hang on. A 5-second stop and go penalty for Shark Boxhorn speeding into the pit lane. And the rain has come down quite suddenly here at the end of this race. And it's coming down rather hard. I'd be surprised if the intermediates are going to have enough traction. I would hate to see anybody have to make a pit again for full wets with only a few laps to go. But you can see how hard Marshall is struggling on the tires to try and get any type of grip. So we're going to do a little bit of a grid reset here after that fun. The rain came down, the car's pitted. You got Lewis Marshall is your leader. Felix Negwar is in second, 8 seconds behind. Francis McGinn managed to work his way back up to third under the dry conditions, didn't lose a spot. Brandon Glover is working his way around a lap car, one of the McLaren Hondas. He is fourth. Cameron Weston Edwards, the Crocodile, is now in fifth. David Wallbank having a very good outing. He's had a couple of spins today, but he's managed to work his way back up to sixth. Apparatical is seventh. Kieran Evans, who had that amazing save in the mediums in the wet conditions when he got hit in the back by James Al. He's eighth. Al is ninth. Jorge Carrera is going to round out your top 10 points paying positions. Lewis Bish, with Lewis Marshall real quick, has picked up a time penalty. Lewis Bish here is 11th. His teammate, Sue Pottertini, is 12th. Ivan Kuda is in and out of the pits for 13th. Alex Chisolu is actually going to pick up that position from him. And that is Lewis Marshall, looks like, going through. Shark Boxhorn is going to be 15th. Your last 2 remaining cars here. This is the Ghost Car Scuderia Toro Rosso. That is Sebastian Goncalves. He left mid-race. And Twist MW. This is Alex Chisolu. I'm sorry. This is Alex Chisolu's car. Michael Amadaro is Mickey. He is running 13th. I got that confused earlier. So we've got a caution in Sector 1 as we pick up Lewis Marshall, your leader. He now has a 9-second lead over his teammate Felix Naguar with only 2 laps to go. Your closest battle on track is going to be that of Ivan Kuda and Michael Amadoro. And this is the battle for 13th. A lot of these guys are just struggling to get traction. This whole gaggle of cars, not all of these cars is a battle for position. Realistically, the only battle for position here is for this 13th position as we pick up Amadoro. The Red Bull there, that is going to be the Red Bull of, I believe, Francis McGinn, who is running 3rd. So he is going to try and work his way around. This actually was your closest battle on track. Brandon Glover picks up another time penalty. So he tries to close the gap down to Francis McGinn. And what a change of conditions here in the last few laps. And Ivan Kuda picks up a 5-second stop-and-go penalty for ignoring a blue flag for letting the leaders go by. That would be Kuda right there, as he looks like he didn't let Lewis Marshall go by. And Marshall has now started the final lap of this exciting race here in Budapest, Hungary. So Lewis Marshall fought very, very hard to get by his teammate Felix Naguar. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion after this race on team orders and just team dynamic. Again, in online racing, it appears that the teammates, it's just a color scheme to a lot of these guys, and Felix Naguar just couldn't hold him off. So Marshall, if he can hang on for a few more corners, looks like Cameron Weston Edwards has just picked up another penalty. Now, with all these time penalties, it'll be interesting to see what the actual finishing grid will look like. If any of the positions will change. See Marshall now very gingerly comes around the penultimate corner, and he comes around this last corner here. A little bit of a push. But Lewis Marshall is going to pick up his first win of the year. An amazing run by Lewis Marshall. His teammate Felix Naguar. These two are going to have words after this race, I'm sure. Naguar comes home second. Francis McGinn had an amazing run today. Battled at the front for most of the day. Ran into a couple of hiccups, fell back in the pack. Was as far back as 9th at one point. Managed to work his way back up to 3rd. Brandon Glover will be bringing home his Mercedes 4th. Cameron Weston Edwards be 5th. Good run today for David Wallbank, bringing his Williams home in 6th. Good solid outing for him. See, it looks like he is out on the soft tires. I'm not sure how he managed to make that work, or it might just be a glitch. Apparatical, he's new to the league. He's only been with us for a couple of weeks. Brings his car home 7th. Kieran Evans will be 8th, followed closely behind by James Al. And it looks like Jorge Carrera is going to be picking up the last point-paying spot. Oh, and Carrera wrecks his car at the start-finish line for 10th, and I'm fairly confident that is a violation of the rules. That will be investigated after the race. So there is your winner. That is Lewis Marshall, Praga X30. And Felix Naguar, Francis McGinn, 2nd and 3rd.
So quite the interesting race. There will be lots to discuss. We'll take a look here at the finishing order. Lewis Marshall, Felix Naguar, Max Verstappen would have been Francis McGinn, then Brandon Glover, Cameron Weston Edwards, Apparatical, David Wallbank does lose a position from 6th to 7th because of time penalties. Kieran Evans moves up to 8th, James Al 9th, Jorge Carrera 10th. Those are your top 10 points paying positions. So very interesting race indeed. Be sure to turn in next week on my channel when we will be looking at round 8. That will be the British Grand Prix, and next week should be interesting. British Grand Prix is going to be followed right after by a 45-minute session practice/race between the second tier drivers and for the teams, and then the first reserve drivers. So it'll be fastest reserve driver versus slowest driver on the team. Potential seat swaps after the end of that, but that'll be after the British Grand Prix. They'll do the seat swap test, and that'll be round 8 next week at the British Grand Prix, same time, 11:30 my time. Not sure what time it is where you're at, but race starts at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. And really appreciate everybody tuning in. Be sure to check out more videos if you want to catch up on IRL races. Most of them are here. You can also check out Waffle on YouTube. He's also a commentator, does his own commentating. He's got all the races as well. That's Waffle, like cauliflower, but with a waffle. So, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week.